These next few days we're talking about strength building, and one of the great tools that we have to use are resistance bands. They are sometimes latex, but you can also find them that where they're not made with latex if you do have allergies for any reason. These bands are basically like big rubber bands and they have different types. So sometimes you'll find tubes, sometimes you'll find them in a circular fashion. I like the ones that are basically cut into strips because then we can have different options to work with them. Whenever you're using a band, you want to make sure that you are not stretching it more than 4 times its resting stance. So if this is where it's at, you want to make sure that you are only stretching 4 times more than that. Whenever you're working with bands or really any conditioning tools, you want to make sure that you remove all jewelry. You don't want it caught. Rings can punch through and cause little tears in the material, and then that makes the bands no longer effective and you risk snapback. If you have longer fingernails, you want to make sure that you're not digging those into the bands as well, because again, that can tear the band. Whenever you're working with these, you want to make sure that you stay in control. You never want the band to take over for you. And so you want to make sure that you're using the proper strength. So they come in different weights, essentially. It's resistance training, so they're rated for different weights, and depending on which one you have, they have a different color code. So you just need to make sure that you're looking at what type of band you have and what that equals pound wise. So for myself, I prefer to use a blue band, and I'm going to start this with my arms. I prefer to use black on my feet and legs because the bands that I have, the black is one of the stronger ones. They do go up higher. They can even have silver and gold. It's just from a dance perspective and how we use them. Most dancers don't use the silver or gold ones. Those are pretty beefy and they're just not as advantageous for the movements that we're doing. So when I go to do this, I like to take the band and I start with it sitting in my thumbs with a tail hanging over. I'll grab hold and I'll flip it, and I wrap the band in so that the tail's hanging down. So to give you a closer view, it looks like this. And that way I can grab it, and you don't want to be impinging on your knuckles or anything, and you shouldn't be cutting off circulation. It's just so you have a grip, because you do not want the band to be snapping back at you. For starters, you want to work it nice and slow. These should all be controlled movements, and you can do your upper body and your lower body with them, which is what's great. And so we'll start off with just a simple lift up to the side, and my arms are straight, my wrists are square, they're facing in this context, and I'm going to lift straight up to the side. You want to make sure you're not locking your elbows out. It's just a lengthen and back down. You want to again make sure that the band's not getting jittery. You don't want it snapping. You don't want your arms shaking. If that does start to happen, you're most likely on the wrong band. This is where again it's super important to be talking with your instructors about what is right and making sure that you're not using something more than what you should be. Another example would be going to the front, in which case your arms can go straight forward, and again everything is just lengthened, nice and control, and pull it back in. Now when you're doing this, I like to have my dancers first start with doing 8 counts out, 8 counts to lower. The very first time that we go to do it, you have to get familiar with how a band works. So we have to work out some of the issues, and so I don't really count it out the very first class that my dancers use them, because we're cleaning up how to do it safely. Once you're familiar with how the bands work and what is right for your body, then we'll do the counts. And the first set of counts that I give are 8, so that way we can start working on the clean control going in and out. Another option we have would be overhead, in which case, again, shoulders are down, your neck is lengthened, arm stays straight, and you can pull this down in front of your head and back up. And you can even pull this behind your head if you want to work more the front part of your arms and back up. Another option that we have is to put the band under your foot, and I'll usually have a stand in a fourth position. You want your elbow a little bit away from your waistline because you don't want to be locking it in, then you're not doing anything. So if you have it out a little bit, you can even use 2 fingers to make sure you're staying in the proper alignment. You want your arm parallel to the floor, it should not be rocked up or down, and the band should be just in its like neutral stance here. Your wrist should be square, and you want to pull that up to your shoulder and back down. You can isolate this so you're going from that neutral position up. You can also do this where you make the band a little bit tighter and your arm is all the way down, and then you bring that all the way up. They train just slightly different, so that way you can either isolate each of the 90 degrees or you can do that full extension. Both are correct, it just depends on what you're working on. Another option I give our dancers would be in the fourth position, again, body upright, just pulling the band back. Now with this, you've got to make sure you're not tilting or trying to lunge forward so you can counterbalance yourself. You want it nice and straight. This will stretch more of the front as you pull it back in. You can even detail things like your wrists. So I will have our dancers go neutral and pull it up, neutral, roll it down. You can shake it side to side. You can go all the way up and all the way down. And if you're looking to use a band as a loosening tool, you can roll circles with them as well. You can also flip your hand, go up and neutral, down and neutral. You can go side to side. You can do circles again here, each direction, and it's good to loosen up all of those little muscles that are in there. Bands are also great for working our lower bodies, in which case one of the starting positions that I'll have our dancers learn with the band is just to make it a horseshoe around your foot. And so you want it to sit flat and tuck it under the ball of your foot. And depending on the movement, you may need to wrap it up and over the pinky toes. Now your toes should not be puncturing through the band. They should just be lengthened in there. When you do this, you want a nice grip at the tails, and you can work your foot pointed and flexed and work all the way through that. Again, keeping a nice straight knee. If you're having a hard time with keeping your back straight, you can also sit right up against the wall so you can feel everything nice and lengthened. When you're here, you can also pull the band to the side and practice going from a sigil position on out. And you can flip the band and go the other way as well. This helps strengthen the little side muscles. So you can see a different view if I'm leaning against the wall. You can point and flex. You can hold the band and pull it out. You can hold the band and pull it in. We go through more options in our classes like floor bar and conditioning. We will oftentimes use bands with our bar work laying down on the ground, in which case then we can do our plies and tendus, and we learn different ways of how to tie the bands and different ways that we can use it for all of those different movements. We can also do that while we're standing. There are so many options with these, and they're just, again, a great tool. Once we take it away, then you should find that your arms borderline feel light as a feather, or if you've been working your legs, you'll feel just the elasticity happening in your body. Be sure to check back tomorrow as we dive in talking about our upper body strength and specifically detailing all of that. I will see you tomorrow.